Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, I have a couple of stories dealing with very bizarre cryptid encounters. One, a pale crawler encounter, and another, a blurry giant. Both encounters sound incredibly intriguing, and I can't wait to tell them all to you today, folks. Either way, let's start with this article. Pale crawler humanoid encountered in central Pennsylvania, Appalachian Mountains, and hear what the witnesses saw. In the early 2010s, a teenager traveling through the wooded backroads of central Pennsylvania witnessed a pale humanoid figure sprint across the road and leap effortlessly over a driveway sign. The creature, staying between 4 and 5.5 feet tall, vanished into the forest, leaving the witness shaken and questioning what they had just seen. Let's get into his account now. I'm ready to talk. I've never posted this anywhere, but I'm prepared to share my story. I grew up in Pennsylvania, specifically in the central Pennsylvania Appalachian region. You can probably figure out where I was, as it's the most wooded area in the middle of Pennsylvania. This happened between 2014 and 2016. I can't exactly remember when, but I know I was with my ex-girlfriend. We'll call her Kari. I've talked about this to maybe 6 people in my entire life so far, and I was around 13 or 14 at the time. Very interesting so far, folks. This guy was a teenager, but a very young teenager, so I would have to say at least, well, he's not actually a little kid, but I will basically take into account that, well, sometimes children do tell the truth of what they've seen. Either way, let's read this teenager's account further and hear exactly how this event affected him and his life going forward. I was leaving work with my girlfriend's grandma. Being a typical teenager, I was trying to smooth talk my girl as we drove to her grandma's house, which wasn't far. Maybe 7 or 8 miles. I could look it up, but I don't feel like it. Kari's grandma owned a small barbecue restaurant where I worked, so I was used to seeing black bears and had even encountered one bear with mange, but I promise you that wasn't what I saw. I've hunted my whole life, not proficiently, but I'm familiar with the local wildlife, including our scarce piebald deer population, and once again, this creature wasn't that. We were about 2 to 3 miles from her house and had just turned off the main road onto a more minor side road that led directly into the woods and farmland. We had gone maybe a quarter mile down the road by an old pond I used to fish at when something came out of the woods. It was pale, off-white, and slightly hunched over. It wasn't huge, maybe 5'6" at most, but it could have been as short as 4 foot. It was humanoid, and I didn't see its face, but it was definitely on 2 legs. It sprinted across the road at a fast pace and jumped over a sign that the homeowners of the lake had put up at the end of their deeply wooded driveway, presumably just to show off. Kari's grandma quickly pulled over to the side of the road and, excuse my language, said, "What the hell was that?" And then it was gone. I never saw it again. I didn't see giant claws or glowing eyes or any sex organs, just a humanoid pale creature running on 2 legs and jumping over this gate. This was the early 2010s, so of course I thought I'd seen the rake. It wasn't moving at some unbelievable speed. And honestly, if we had been going faster, I'd probably have pictures of it wrapped around the bumper of her Hummer. But it was fast, like an adult man sprinting. That's it. I never saw it again and never heard anything unusual in the woods after that. The coyotes disappeared for a couple of months, or at least they stopped howling. I wish I had some crazy, surreal experience to share, but this terrified me to my core. As I approach my 24th birthday next month and get ready to leave the military, I served in infantry recon. I feel like I can finally share this story. You can ask questions, but I can't promise I have much to add. It was so quick and surreal that I was more focused on keeping my composure. I'm not a writer. I'm not trying to get famous on a subreddit. I still go out to the woods by myself all the time. I'm attempting to transition into wildland firefighting. I hadn't thought about this experience in a long time, but while learning about Mount St. Helens and hearing about weird discoveries in the woods, the memory hit me like lightning and came floating back. Chalk it up to a chilling story. Upvote it if you like. Downvote it if you don't. I'm just glad to get this off my chest finally. Edit? Everyone told me to format it into a paragraph, so I appreciate your interest and sincerity in this strange and frightening experience, H. Very weird experience that H had, isn't it, folks? Now, this is a peculiar encounter with a pale crawler here, folks, because the creature was described as basically being 4 or 5.5 feet tall. In most encounters with pale crawlers, they're mentioned as basically being 7 to 8 feet taller, even bigger at times, folks, and a lot of times crawling on all 4s. But this time, this creature was running on 2 legs and not very much bigger than a short human. So very interesting. But folks, let's move on to the next article. Blurry Giant of Bottoms Road, what was it? Let's read this experiencer's full account now. A witness's wife encountered a towering 10-foot-tall humanoid near Hazelwood and Florissant, Missouri. The figure's features appeared strangely blurred, its broad-shouldered frame both human-like and otherworldly. Speculation ranges from dogman and crawler to wendigo or even a paradoxical entity, leaving the question open, what exactly is haunting this stretch of Bottoms Road? Let's get into the full story now. What did my wife see? I tried getting AI to generate an image based on her description. It appeared vaguely humanoid, about 10 feet tall and 5 feet wide at the shoulders, with a barrel chest but not overweight. Its arms were proportionally human-like, and its color was uniformly blonde or light tan. The creature's details and features were blurred out, showing no distinct muscles, eyes, nose, mouth, body, head, or facial hair. It was standing in a short grassy field with dense brush and green forest in the background. I couldn't understand why the figure's features were blurred or why it wasn't pot-bellied. The legs didn't appear well-muscled and the arms hung closer to the body, suggesting broader shoulders. The coloring and head size were more similar to those of a bearded man. This sighting happened somewhere between Hazelwood and Florissant, Missouri, off Bottoms Road. My wife has questioned various locations and people about what this could be. Some suggested it might be a dogman because it had a toothy mouth. At the same time, another person speculated it could be something paradoxical, as the image distorts to spare her from a nightmarish portrayal. Others mentioned it could be a dogman, crawler, or similar creature. Whenever she sees it, she notices that the hairs on her arms stand up beforehand. Someone even suggested it might be a wendigo, skinwalker, or slender man. The sightings occur on private property where she has seen it after I posted her comment, and the AI-generated image of the creature, 10 feet tall, close to the road near a stream. I went to capture it, but my medieval weapons and limited free time make that challenging. W. Okay, folks, this is a very odd story. Was this creature yet another pale crawler encounter? It does sound very similar. Could it have been, well, dogman or even a Bigfoot? I'm just saying this, folks, because remember, there are accounts of basically Bigfoot distorting people's perceptions, even rendering it invisible. Maybe this is something similar with basically the pale crawlers or other supernatural creatures, that they can alter people's perceptions, rendering themselves invisible or at the very least unable to be identified like this. Now, what is also odd is that this guy said medieval weapons. Does he have a sword or something? Or was he basically making a jest there? Either way, folks, he was trying to basically hopefully capture a picture of it. So that's at very least a very good thing. It also basically makes me fear that this is, well, him basically just having fun with us. Maybe the story is fake, and he was basically making a jest at the end, telling us that his story was fake by basically adding in medieval weapons. Because how many people actually have medieval weapons? I mean, I own a sword, but I bought it basically from from my mall in my city here, folks. But that doesn't mean it would actually work against a real, supernatural creature either, folks. But hey, maybe this guy actually has a sword, and he was going to basically take it with him as protection. I would have brought a gun, but hey, whatever works for you, mate. Either way, very odd story. But do you think that both stories, do you think they actually happen? And what does that say about the world, folks, that we live in a world where people see these pale crawlers who might be Bigfoot with, I guess, possibly mange? And if they did have something like mange, rendering them mostly hairless, would that explain some of these sightings? Well, maybe, but I kind of doubt it. I think that pale crawlers could possibly be related to Bigfoot, because in this case, folks, this entity apparently could basically distort the perception of this woman looking at it. So maybe this is something we see with all supernatural creatures. It's a possibility. So make of it what you will, folks. We definitely heard a story with a pale crawler in the first story, and this other entity, this giant, could be anything. So very interesting. I probably think that basically there's a good chance it could have been maybe an alien encounter or even an encounter with some sort of spiritual entity. Or alien dogman encounter. Either way, it's possible. But we're at the end, folks. So please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics that are bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.